FP1, FP2 analysis of the Spanish Grand Prix. FP2, let me give you a lowdown of the updates we have. We have teams that brought upgrades, and we have some news. And let me start with the Andre Newey news. The reason why I have not talked about Andre Newey's news is because we've not confirmed where he's going to. Sometime earlier this year, about 2 months ago, he was at Ferrari, Maranello, paid a quiet visit to Maranello. Now, some few days ago, he paid another visit to Silverstone at the Aston Martin home in Silverstone, and which means this guy has not signed for any team and is still assessing the probability of signing for any team this year, or looking at which team he thinks he should sign for. We might see him at Mercedes in 2 or 3 months' time, checking there, and McLaren in 4 months' time, you understand? Or possibly at Williams. He needs to know where he needs to go to and which pays him. It's not all about the driver, all about the money, but I think it's more of the team. The money is involved though. It's more of the team and what they offer. So I think that is what he might be looking at, and that will make sense for him. To teams with upgrades, VCAB have promised to bring upgrades to Spain, and in the recent light of Ferrari's slump, they are bringing a new floor to solidify the SF24 2.0 package, to solidify the evolutions, a medium high load new rear wing, a DRS flap, some few components including the bottom and minor body area modification. Also, Mercedes are not saying they are not bringing upgrades, they are bringing some few upgrades also to Barcelona to solidify their newfound speed, and I think McLaren too should be bringing upgrades, which makes it easier. I spoke about Alpine in one of our podcasts, and I'm saying it again that Alpine are possibly looking towards Mercedes for the engine in 2026. Now, the Renault engine has not been favorable, and I think from the Renault side, they too are looking at it, and they are already conceding, possibly having meetings with Mercedes. So if Aston Martin is going to Honda, I think Mercedes will not be losing anything if Renault will be joining them. That's Alpine will be joining them in 2026. So they are not losing anything. They are even standing strong. Meanwhile, Stefano Domenicali, the F1 CEO, has tipped in on if this sustainable fuel. I've not made a video about the new regulations because there are still some things that are pending, and there are still some things that they are looking at. A lot of simulation going on. Then on the engine, sustainable fuel. If the sustainable fuel issue works well, they are looking at going back to their normal engine. That is, they might V8 or V12 engine or V10 engine. They might go back to it. They might be looking at ditching the hybrid, because since 2014 that they brought the hybrid, it has worked well, but I think they don't really feel is the tune of Formula One. So they might go back to the V10 with sustainable fuel if it can give them the climate neutral or carbon neutral achievement in which F1 is looking at by 2030. So they might think of going back to sustainable fuel, using the sustainable fuel to go back fully to V8 or V10 or V12, probably because of that noise. They love that noise. That's why I keep saying, see, no matter what happens in this world, CI engines, SI engines will still be, forget about it. We are having the Teslas, the Polars, the different car manufacturers, the BYDs, electric car manufacturers, but they will be, certainly. But that noise, the real car enthusiast will never want to lose the value of that noise. That is it. They love the noise, and that certainly will still be. Now, Lewis Hamilton has commented on the issue of tickets sales in Silverstone. He has attributed the slow pace of fans coming to Silverstone to watch the British Grand Prix as a result of the high ticket price. Now, Formula One is a high-end game, and Lewis Hamilton has been a little bit critical about this ticket price. There was a year that there was rain, and they only had a lap under the rain, and he advocated that their money should be refunded back. About the money, yes, Formula One needs the money, but they should also look at some places. There's inflation all over the world, and for the past 2 years, I think there's been a little slump or a little bit deep in the fans coming to watch the 3 days, unlike before in Silverstone. Some come for a day, some come for 2 days, only few come for 3 days. And if they can reduce the price, you see people coming for 3 days, and they'll possibly make more, because people come in the whole 3 days and they slash the price by quarter. They'll still make more because people will come, but because it is a little bit expensive, they can't come. And whilst one of the commentators said it's because of Max Verstappen that has been winning, they are not happy. I'm not sure. F1 fans are like that, I'm not sure. Though there might be some sentiments about drivers, but they will come out certainly. And especially with the way things are turning out now, people will come out. But I agree with Lewis Hamilton. I don't think it relates to Max Verstappen winning. Though some races about 2 years have been so dull, but I don't think it relates to it. The engine manufacturers should look into how they can make better engines and compete with Red Bull. But majorly, the inflation all over the world is affecting a lot of people and a lot of British fans. And if you look at their economy, they are having some difficulties in the economy for the past few times. I think they are rising back, but F1 should also look into it, and the organizers should also look into the ticket to make sense, being able to do something that to make people come out and stand out. So that's what I feel. Lest I forget, Aston Martin also brought some few upgrades. The RB's upgrade had a reprofile of their side pods, and also for the Ferrari. So to FP1, these are things I noticed in FP1. Different runs, high fuel runs, low fuel runs, different tests, because Barcelona had been a track in which they've been testing for some years, but now they've moved it away. But unfortunately, the car manufacturers and engine manufacturers still know that Barcelona track is one of the best tracks to test your car, though it has its limitation because it only works majorly for the major European tracks. Now, the minor European tracks are the Azerbaijan, Monaco, in which they are street tracks and they have different profiles. If you can have a good car in Barcelona, 100%, you have a 90% perfect car. So with the test going on, a lot of car manufacturers are doing their tests. So that will be all we get in FP1, FP2, different tests. People having testing their different components in which they've brought. But on soft tires, we can see the distance between the Mercedes and the Red Bull on medium and Ferrari on medium is less than the tire actual gap, which means these cars are close. It's going to be a very close qualifying and race from what we are looking at. And the Mercedes don't really look fast on their long run pace, especially on their tire. They look a little bit slow and wobbly. There has been a very, very sporadic increase or better gradient in the growth of the Mercedes team this season. They've really improved, unlike last year and 2 years ago. But those cars still look better than these at present season. But like you know, all other constructors have really improved. Serious improvement has happened to them. Now, going to Red Bull, they look a little bit more confident on this track, except for the few things Max Verstappen is complaining about: the anti-stalling clutch, the steering. Also, I think they said they've improved that, they've worked on that. But let's see how it goes on in the other practices during this GP. Also, for the Ferrari, we can still see Leclerc lagging behind. I've not confirmed if they've changed the engine. Well, I would update you by FP2 if they've changed the engine, but Leclerc still look off the pace, while Sainz maintained a strong P3. McLaren are looking strong, but as they are strong as we think on the same tires with other manufacturers, see that in FP3 for real. But FP1 is just shows of testing. FP2 will all be about testing also. But after FP2, I'll be able to give you a brief on what will happen tomorrow and on Sunday. The FP2. Now, looking at the analysis of FP1, Hamilton was carrying more fuel than his teammate in the FP1. I think that was why he was some few tenths slower than his teammate. Now, remember in Canada, Hamilton was faster in the practices, but at the end of the day, his teammate took the shine. After checking on Hamilton's data to set up his own time, he was able to outshine Hamilton. Will that same thing happen in Spain this weekend? Will Hamilton allow it to happen? Will the team allow that to happen? Or if there's any issue with whatever a lot of people are saying about sabotage, I'm not saying they've sabotaged him, but are the Mercedes team as a whole being true to Hamilton? Because naturally, he's not this bad. We all know Hamilton is not this bad. You know, he's a good critic of himself. He criticized himself at the end of the day. But the question now is, will this qualifying be as bad as the same as it was in Canada? We don't know yet. During the FP2, we could see his teammate not really coming out, but because he was some few tenths behind Lewis Hamilton, especially on the qualifying run. And I think Hamilton was still carrying a little amount of fuel in this FP2 run. He's trying to check out some things, and on his long run, he was not doing bad. I think that was why I think on his soft tire, he was carrying more fuel, because he did a median of 1 minute 20, which looks high. But if he's doing that on the high fuel, it's not that bad. And to his teammate that did about 6 laps on the same tire, and Verstappen that did 4 laps and was doing 190, Lewis Hamilton's teammate was doing 121. I think it's still variably combined. But the Mercedes are looking like they are flying in Spain. Meanwhile, the Ferrari also looks like they are flying, and also the McLaren. We cannot see much difference between the RB20 like they've been doing in the last 3 races, and they come out to outshine every other person in qualifying. But let's see what happens. Now, Mercedes have gone into an investigation into somebody that sent an email from their team or from RB team about Lewis Hamilton being sabotaged. Well, they've called the police to look into the mail. Let's see what they find out. But they too should look into themselves and see how they can. Hamilton certainly will not be in their meetings. They need points. So whatever they feel they should do to make this team work, at least their team to work before the end of the season, they can do that, because everybody's looking at it like it's sabotage. His body language is saying it, and the team's body language is also saying that. So they need to look at it and see how they can make the team more favorable, and the qualifying and the races not giving one out to one. Now to Red Bull. Max Verstappen suffered suffered a lot. He was not really feeling cool with the car. The car not balanced, coming into the exit, the front not getting it, which means the car is not balanced at all. Like the RB20 we saw at the beginning of the season, they've brought an upgrade and a different iteration to the car, but the car still looks very, very imbalanced. How do they solve this? I learned from the news we saw that during the break, Max Verstappen had a test of the RB18 in Imola to compare what is happening with the curbs and every other thing, so that they can compare with this RB20 or the upgrades they've brought. And Paul Monahan, the chief engineer in RB, also explained that they tried giving Max reference to judge from, but the reference I believe should be the RB18 that they tested, but it's not really open. McLaren too had a test on their car, but with a different driver driving the car, and I mean in the person of Mick Schumacher, doing about 100 laps or more on the McLaren car during the break from Canada. Pirelli did test also with Ferrari during the break with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, so everybody's running different tests on their cars to make sure the cars are optimally performing. So how do these guys come out strong? I think from what we are seeing, the Mercedes have not really gotten their mojo back, but let's see what happens. But they are really looking strong. The Mercedes and the Ferrari look so balanced, so balanced in Spain, and like I said earlier, Spain looks like a good benchmark. They look balanced. Let's see what they come up with, these two teams and McLaren. But don't count RB out. They've always come out with beautiful surprises to shock everybody, like I told you guys. So watch out for FP3 and qualifying tomorrow. I love you guys. Bye. Chee.